Hi, I'm Duane Cissna, and this is my lovely and beautiful wife, Kim.
Hello.
And I host a Saturday afternoon show from 1 to 6 here at KYCC. And I'll let Kim tell a little bit more about how she got involved with KYCC, and then I'll share a little bit of mine. And we're going to talk a little bit about how we met and our love story and how it could be a Hallmark movie.
I think it could. But after we started dating, I started volunteering here at the station. And I just do production work, like the POV stuff and 20. And then every so often I'm on Duane's show with him, either every break or just every week on the National Day.
And I have been a host for KYCC for 38 plus years. It'll be 39 on July 26th. The only longer host that we've had is Joe and Janet Ramirez. They'll be celebrating 40 years in November. Nice. I also, in case anybody listens to the station, if you ever hear the promo, new music on KYCC from...
That's him.
That's me. I do all of those. There's 2 a week. And it's really fun because I get to hear the new music before everybody else does. Anyway, why don't you, dear, tell us about how you met? Because this isn't our first marriage. Both of us are on our chapter 2.
Right.
And that's kind of why we wanted to do this podcast.
And we don't own the phrase chapter 2.
No.
I took it from a woman who was widowed and remarried on Facebook, One Fit Widow, but that's what I call it. So that way you can talk about each marriage, talk about each love, and you're not putting it in order of importance. You're not putting it in like this one was better than this one. It's just this is the chronological.
So tell us, how did you meet Jeff?
Oh, I met Jeff at a youth function. I was young once. The youth group. We were met at someone's house. We were having a Bible study and food and whatever, and that's where I met him. And then I knew him just in the group until the following. I think I met him after he graduated from high school, and then we didn't start dating. He didn't ask me out till the following year, and I was really shy back then, more than I am now. And so, so our first date was at a restaurant that no longer exists, and we went and saw a double feature. And then our second date was my high school prom. It was really sweet. And so we got married. I graduated in 81, and then we got married in 83 at Calvary Baptist Church. And his family was wonderful. He was wonderful. It was a good marriage. There were things along the way that I had thought, planned, but as the Bible says, we make plans, but the Lord determines our steps. And so things that I thought would happen didn't on many things, but it was a really good man, really good husband, good Christian. He was a pastor. So,
How long were you married?
29 years. Our anniversary was October 15th, and then we found out he was sick in November, and then by the following March, he was gone.
That was 2013.
2013.
And I was married to my wife, Melanie. We met back in 1984, got married in 87. How I proposed to her was kind of fun, actually. It was my birthday weekend, and so we were going to San Francisco to visit friends. And so I wanted to make it look like that. But in the trunk, I had packed a bottle of sparkling cider and some sweetheart roses. And so when we went to dinner, I was so afraid that I was going to mess up the words, "Will you marry me?" that I actually made greeting cards for each word.
Cards, cute. I've seen them.
And so I handed her the card. And in the first one, you open it up, and it had a picture of a document on the front, and it said, "Will." And then there was next card had a picture of a sheep you. And then it looked a wedding couple for the next card and so on. And then on the last card, there was, after it said me, there was a little place to say yes or no. So she had to reach into her purse and pull out a pencil. And then she kept going back and forth between the yes and the no, and the yes and the no. It's like, honey.
Reminiscent
she finally
of
checked,
7th grade. Huh?
She finally checked the yes. And then because I didn't know how to do rings very well, and her taste and my taste on rings were like miles apart, I just said, let's go ring shopping. So then after that, she had told me when her mom and dad had gotten married, he had proposed to her on the top of that mountain there, Twin Peaks in San Francisco. So after the dinner, I drove Melanie up to the Twin Peaks, and we celebrated our engagement and kind of an homage to her parents. So I like to do big things when I propose. So when we get to the part where I proposed to her, you'll see how I did that.
Yeah. Jeff's proposal was funny, actually.
Oh, we were married 27 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So since you brought that up, it was Valentine's Day, and I knew we were going to be going out to dinner, so I was getting dressed. I'd had a shower, but I hadn't got quite the dress and the shoes on yet. And I had my hair in curlers, and I was in everything else except the dress and a robe, no makeup on yet. He'd seen me with no makeup, but that's not a big deal. The doorbell rings like an hour earlier than he was supposed to be there. I look out the window, and he's standing there with this big grin on his face and this big giant heart box of candy and a teddy bear and, I don't know, a dozen or two red roses. And I'm like, oh no, what are you doing here already? He goes through the window, I can't wait. I said, no, go home and come back. He goes, no, I can't. Can you just let me in? I'm like, I'm not dressed. He goes, it's okay, just let me in. So
he probably didn't want to lose his nerve.
I don't know. So I thought he was going to do that like at dinner or something like that. I think he was planning to, but I let him in. He brings me into the living room. He sits me on the couch, hands me the candy, hands me the teddy bear, hands me the flowers, gets down on one knee and proposes. And
you're in a bathrobe.
I was like, I'm in a bathrobe, curlers, and no makeup. I said, if you can propose to me like this, the real me, oh yeah, I'm going to marry you. So I was like, well, now you have to wait while I go finish getting ready. My parents weren't even home from work yet. It was so funny. He's just like, I can't wait. I'm like, oh, okay. Because we knew we wanted to get married. I was just waiting for him to be secure in his new job enough to where he knew he could take care of me because I wasn't working at the time. And so it was very cute. But
so Jeff passed away in 2013.
Yes.
From complications from surgery.
Yeah, he'd had glioblastoma, which is the rarest, worst kind of brain cancer you could get. And he had surgery on November 30th. And so then they did radiation and chemo, and which is different for brain cancer than it is for other types. You take a pill for chemo instead of going in and getting hooked up to stuff. And then he went in and did the radiation. And then in February, started acting kind of funny again. No, February. Yeah, but the end of February started acting funny again. And so we went back to the hospital. They did another MRI, and this was in March, though. Sorry. In March, they noticed what he thought the tumor had grown back. He goes, I'm not sure. It could be the tumor growing back, but it could be just scar tissue from the radiation. And so they did another surgery on the 20th, and on the 20th, and he said, it is, I'm sure, scar tissue, but we won't know until we get the results back from the lab on Friday. But Friday morning, he had a blood clot that probably came up from his leg into his lungs and blew up. He had a heart attack, and he died. And then the results came back. He had 0 cancer when he died, which was devastating because we thought, okay, he's going to beat this thing. And in the beginning, when he was diagnosed, he said, well, God will heal me from this. And he had complete faith that he was going to get healed from the cancer. And the doctor said, his surgeon said, in my years of practice, like 20, 25 years, he goes, I've only had 2 people not come back with this cancer after the first surgery. And he said, well, doc, I'm number 3. And so while it was true, he passed away, he had no cancer in his brain when he did. And I was like, wow. So I put a little number 3 on the top of his urn. So people will go, what does that mean? It'll be fun. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Melanie had been diagnosed with breast cancer in 2000. And so she did the mastectomy and then lots of chemo and stuff. And she was cancer-free for 7 years. Yeah. And then she started having some issues and pain and different things. And they found that it had come back, except this time it came back in her bones. Her bones were disintegrating in her neck. And so she went in for emergency surgery, and they put in rods and different things. Actually, the surgeon that did the work was surprised that she actually walked. He said, most people, when I have to take out 2 vertebrae from your neck, they don't walk anymore, and she had 3 removed.
And didn't you tell me that the people here wouldn't touch it, so you had to go to UC Davis?
We had to go, Stanford.
Oh, Stanford.
No one here would touch it. No neurologist would touch it here. And so we were going to life flight her, but there was a terrific storm that had come up. And so they had to put her in an ambulance and drive her from here all the way over to Stanford. It was really bad. But she came back from that. And then after that, she had other issues, blood clots in the heart. She had open heart surgery. She had a lungs issue where there was fluid around her lungs, and they had to go in and do a special treatment that they got from Israel that prevented that from happening again. And, she was a fighter. She wanted to live.
Oh, yeah.
And
wanted to watch the girls grow up.
Exactly. And then they were doing, palliative treatment, which was some chemotherapy, but not enough to kill it. And the last one they gave her in March of 2014 was a very severe chemo. It did nothing to the cancer, but it killed her kidneys. Yeah. So in September of 2014, the day after my birthday, she passed away. And it was tough. And when I was faced with this situation, I told the Lord, actually, the day after, right after it had happened, I said, Lord, I've lived with her for 27 years. I've got 2 beautiful girls. I'm good. I don't need to marry anyone else. I'm happy. But if you want me to be a blessing to someone somewhere down the road, let me know. And you kind of had the same thing.
So, a lot of people handle grief in different ways. Some people immediately need to get into another relationship, but not me. I had Jeff. He was my one and only love. He was actually the only boy I ever dated. And so I didn't feel like there would be anybody else out there who could love me, put up with me, just all of that. And I didn't want to even think about it. And it was a long time before those thoughts started popping into my head. And I said, well, God, if you do have someone in mind for me again, you're going to have to make it painfully obvious, because I'm not just going to just keep going out with anybody. He's got to be a Christian, as God knows that, but he's got to be a widower, because I don't want to be going on. And then this other guy's going, oh my gosh, she's talking about Jeff again, So I need somebody who will understand what I went through and how I feel. And there he is. So
I do have a question.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your faith was shaken through this, or do you feel like in the end it came out stronger?
Yes to both. Because in the beginning, it was like, it seemed like God was showing us he was going to live or survive this cancer. And then we lost him. And it was like, where'd that come from? Were you just teasing us? And I was mad and yelling with one hand at God, and then in the other hand saying, don't let go, because I need you. I cannot get through this without you. So it was kind of like I was a little, I don't know, what word to use, but it was just, I was angry, but I knew I couldn't let go of God. I could not let go of my faith. And so in the end, when I let the anger go, because I couldn't live the rest of my life like that, and I was like, sorry, I apologize. I'm sorry, God, I was angry. I know you have plans. I know you have reasons for the things that happen. And sometimes God says no, and we don't know why, but the faith comes in right there to trust him to what's best for me, what's best for us, what was best for Jeff. And so while it kind of shook me up, it still, I think I got a little stronger out of it.
And Melanie was an intercessor. She could pray a house down. And, we were doing all the confessions. We were standing on all the scriptures. I honestly believed, even though she went into the hospital with the issues with the kidney, I was confident that God could turn that around. And so when she passed, it was a shock to me. And some people say, why, how would you be shocked? All of these things happened leading up to it. I went, I just expected God to do that. So then the question that I always get, excuse me, is that, well, then how do you believe God for healing? And I go, I can't explain everything. I don't know everything. I can't answer, like she was saying. I don't know all the reasons behind all of the things that went on. But I could not allow that to shake my confidence in what the Word of God said. And so I continue to believe that the Word of God is true. And at some point, God's going to explain that to me. And when I get to heaven, he'll tell me all about it.
Or we'll just know, or we won't care.
Yeah.
It won't matter then.
So I had to move on. But yes, it made, my faith was built all the way through, and even after Mel's passing. And I think that was also because of my faith was the reason why I was able to hold on and say, I'm satisfied, God, and I don't have to be in another relationship. But then, for me, about 3 years plus after that, I started getting these desires to have a companion, because every time I went out with my friends, like her, she said the same thing.
Third wheel.
We felt like the third wheel, because it was just us and them. Yeah. And then you're in a meeting and someone says, how many people out there are married? And you start to go, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, because of someone in our church had really good success with a particular website, I was thinking, well, maybe I should consider that, right? But we never connected. Well, in December of 2016, she had some issues going on. Your father passed away.
Yeah, in
had
December.
Heart issues.
Yeah.
But I received this anonymous Christmas card. And in the card, it talked about this woman who had also lost her spouse, and that she thought, this person, we later found out it was a she, thought that we might
like each other,
or at least to support each other as friends or something. And in it, there was this little cutout head from a picture. She had taken a picture and cut out her head and put it in there. And I'm seeing this, and it's not signed. And
it's
I'm
from
going,
1999 or 98.
And I thought, oh my gosh,
98.
I'm on the air at KYCC. I'm a public figure. My name is in the phone book. My address is in the phone book. I've got a stalker. Right?
He thought it was me.
I'm
like that little picture.
I thought it was a stalker. And so I told my girls about it and I put it away. And so we almost didn't connect because I put that away. But then, I don't know, we could save this for another podcast or keep going.
Well, okay. But before that.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
But before that.
Oh, yes.
My best friend, Carrie, my BFF, her mom, Nancy, and her mom and dad every time we were at like one of the girls' birthday parties or something, Carrie's girls or something, they were trying to get me to meet somebody. I said, stop trying to set me up because I'm not ready for that. And at the time, I was not. I was just not ready for that. And so one time, Carrie had mentioned, do you know who Duane Cissna is? And I'm like, the name's familiar because I'll be honest, I used to switch back and forth from KYCC to another station I won't mention, but and then I don't think I listened as much on Saturday for the same reason a lot of people do, because if I'm not running errands, I'm home, I'm dealing with the kids, or we're going to a baseball game, or we're going to ballet, or we were doing whatever. So, but I had heard it, and the name was familiar. I said, yeah, the name's familiar. Oh, well, he's on the radio. He's on KYCC. I said, okay, what about him? She goes, well, his wife just passed away. I said, just passed away? I'm like, how long ago are we talking? Oh, about so many months, right? Like 6 months or something. I'm like, Carrie, I'm not going to call up some guy and say, hey, I heard your wife died. You want to go out? I'm like, come on. That's a little tacky, and I don't want to do it. So at the time, I wasn't ready to meet someone and go out or whatever, right? And so, but apparently Nancy didn't give up.
She didn't.
No.
So she had sent this note. Well, I put it away. Christmas came and gone, and then I had Teresa Shad. She at that time was the morning host here at KYCC. I had Jim and Teresa come over for soup the day after Christmas.
Good.
And so we got to talking about different things, and Teresa asked, if I was still thinking about maybe getting out there in the world again with dating. And I said, well, I'm kind of thinking about it. And then my girl said, hey, Dad, show her the stalker note. Right? So I pull out this card and I hand it to Teresa. She opens it up and reads it, and she says,
she goes, hey, I know her, because she saw the picture.
And the name.
Yeah.
And the way she knew her was because her husband, Jim, has a half-sister, Jenny, who was married to
my mom's younger brother. So at birthday parties, weddings, funerals, we would see Jim and Teresa. And so I kind of knew her, but I didn't know her super well. And so, but she's like, I know her. And so then you were asking about, was I a believer and all that?
I said, is she, oh yes. And her husband was a pastor, and, you'd probably like her. And well, there was a phone number in the card. It was her home phone. And so
a landline. Yeah.
Teresa encouraged me, and I prayed about it a little bit. And so then I called and left a message. No response. So I called and left another message, explaining I'm friends with Teresa and so on, and still no response.
Well, at that time, the only people that ever called my landline was telemarketers. So I'd come home every day, the lights blinking, I'm playing, yeah, okay, erase, yeah, okay, erase. But I did not notice anything blinking, and so that's why I never caught the phone call. Everybody called me on my cell phone.
Right. So then Teresa told me, not a problem. We've got a family event coming up, and after it's over, I'll go talk to Kim and let her know what's going on and see what she does. So she did.
Yeah, it was my cousin's bridal shower.
And I sent her a photo of the card and the envelope so she could see the handwriting. Maybe she could figure out who sent it. But she had everything. And so then everything now is in her lap as to what to do next.
Yeah, so at the end of the party, Allison calls me in, my cousin, and says, not the one getting married. And so she goes, Kim, this was at her house. Come here. Teresa wants to tell you something. And I'm like, okay, what? So she tells me this story that you just told, and I'm like, what? Who would do that and not sign it? That's creepy. And I'm thinking, it's got to be Nancy. It's got to be Nancy, and which is Carrie's mom. she just didn't give up on this, right? And she wanted me to have somebody. So that's when I asked Teresa, ask Duane to send you a picture of the card. Maybe I recognize the handwriting. The only time I ever got anything from her was Christmas. Love, Ralph and Nancy. Okay. So then he did. And I thought it was hers, but I wasn't positive. But I was pretty sure. I had to eventually call Carrie and show her. She didn't know her mom had done it. And show her the card. And I said, is this your mom's handwriting? And she's like, yeah, it is. I'm sorry. And I said, Carrie, why didn't she sign it? She goes, I don't know. I said, oh, my goodness. So, but before that, so I come home and I told Teresa, well, I got to pray about this. I don't know what to do. So she sent me the copy of the picture. And so then I'm just walking around the house going, well, after I went and checked the machine, there was 2 messages that I hadn't seen before. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I'm like, okay. But the funny part of them telling me this story when we were at Allison's was I was not thinking in my head, no. I was not thinking, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. I was like, that was weird. So
now
I'm praying,
you're open to it.
Yeah. So I'm praying, Lord, what do I do? I can't just pick up the phone and call this guy. That's not me. I don't just call guys. I've had one boyfriend, one husband. What am I going to do? I'm not forward or outgoing. So, my generation probably too. So I hear someone tell me, and we know who it was. You have his address. And I went, okay, yeah. So, and I heard, write him a letter. Oh, I can do that.
So she wrote me a letter.
I wrote pretty well.
It was
handwritten.
Mm-hmm. Big writing.
Yes, because I write pretty large.
17 pages.
Well, you had to count the back.
Yes.
That was the back also, page 1, page
Front
2.
and back.
Yeah. It wasn't 17 separate pages.
So I'm getting nervous, right? Because I knew that Teresa had this conversation, and Teresa kept telling me, hold on.
Because I told Teresa what I was doing.
Yeah. So Teresa's the in-between, and she knows everything, but neither of us knew both.
Right.
So I get this letter in the mail, and I read it, and I go, wow. And so then I typed, because I don't write as well as she did, I typed a letter. Mine was typed 6 pages.
So if you had handwritten it, it would have been
giving
long.
you the story of my life kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we started this letter writing
I'm
campaign.
like, for now, can you be my pen pal? Was what I asked him.
So we're writing mail back and forth. It was like, you've got mail. And
only you've got snail mail.
Yeah. And so we did this for 6 weeks.
It was fun, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was anticipating getting another letter.
Check the mailbox,
And so at some point, she decided, I guess maybe Teresa was giving her some hints.
Teresa was saying, you need to, how long are you going to make him write letters? And I'm like, I don't know. And so then I finally decided, I wrote him a letter saying, I've written this poem, and if you can guess what the song is, it's about a song. If you can guess what the song is and who's singing it, because it was my favorite song at the time, then I will...
And announce it on my show.
Right, announce it on your show. This song is for so-and-so, and I'll give you my number and we can start talking to each other and texting.
So then I get this, and I thought it was the actual lyrics, and so I'm Googling the lyrics, and it's not working. And so then I called Teresa, and I said, I think it's this, but I don't know because it's not the lyrics. And she said, well, it's a poem about the song. And I went, oh. And so then I went, okay, I know what it is. It was Danny Gokey and Rise, which was one of our top 10 songs at the time. And she has some...
I love Danny.
She has, Danny also lost his wife. And
it's kind of connected with that.
And so she connected
story.
with that. And so she's kind of always held this artist, in a special place in her heart. And so I announced it, and she said, if you'll do this, I'll text you my number. So I did it, and she texted, and so we started texting, and then eventually we started talking on the phone. And then Teresa said, so how long are you going to drag this out? When are you going to actually meet him?
Well, and when you did that, I had the girls over, I had all my friends over, and we had lunch, and then we made cookies, and so they were like,
oh yeah,
you got it
this
right,
was,
you got
they
it right.
almost did something not so nice.
What?
They were going to all text me and then say, figure out who
Oh,
it
that's
is.
right. Let's all text him and he can guess which one is you. That's right.
Oh, my goodness. So we decided, since Teresa's birthday was coming up on the 11th of March, that was the best place, and we would meet at her house. And so you fixed cake for her, and you fixed lasagna for me, and
For dinner for everybody. And did she make salad?
yeah.
And then bread.
And so that was when we first met, was March 11th
Yeah.
of 2017. And so we started dating after that. But I wanted to make sure, as I did with my first wife, I wanted to make sure that this is what God really wanted. So we dated for a while. Actually, we learned later that there was a pool going on here at the station of when I was going to propose. And someone eventually won. But I asked her on August 25th of 2018.
Right.
And
But I got to point out,
yes.
the March 2017 to August 18 might not sound like very long to young people.
No.
Which is different. It's kind of different. So when you're a teenager, I met Jeff when I was 17. I'm not going to run out and get married at 17, And so I was 20. I was still very young. And he was 21. But at this age, we know what real love is, not just infatuation. We know what, you put God first in the marriage, and then all those things that follow, and we know just what's real. So it's like, I'm older. I don't want to wait 2-3 years and have a long engagement. That's silly. Well, to me.
Right.
So
I didn't make up this analogy, but someone did. It's like our lives are like a triangle, and God's at the point.
Right. And
we're on either side. So the closer you get to God, the closer you get to your spouse.
So that's why it was kind of a, what did I call it? A shotgun wedding without the other.
It was quickly.
Yeah. So.
Because anyway, so I decided that we have some common friends in Santa Cruz. So I said, we're going to go to Santa Cruz and see our two friends there.
Richard and Beverly. And
go to our favorite beach. So I had already picked up some roses, and I had been practicing a song, and I had one of those Bluetooth speakers. And so we get there, and I hand the Bluetooth speaker to Richard out there by the beach, and I pull out a rose from my sleeve, and I start singing Unforgettable, the Nat King Cole version. And so I finish singing that, and then I get down on one knee, and I propose.
Oh, you forgot.
No, I'm not there yet.
Oh, okay. Was that after that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
And then because our relationship started out with letter writing, I had written her a letter to tell her how many ways that I love her. And so I handed her the letter hoping she would read it, but she made me read it out loud. And so then we went for a walk on our favorite beach, and then we had lunch, and that's kind of how it all happened. And then she says, "Oh, this was so wonderful. Can you please sing Unforgettable at our wedding?" So after she was walked down the aisle by her son, I sang Unforgettable to her before our ceremony.
And for those of you who don't know, Duane can sing. I can't, but he can.
Yeah, I've done some singing, yes.
Yeah. So.
But, yeah, and so we continue to keep God in the center of our marriage, as I talked about in that triangle. As we get closer to God, we're closer to each other.
Yeah.
And we don't make the same mistakes that we made with our initial spouses.
Oh, yeah.
Tell them about that.
Well, I spent so much wasted time being annoyed. Jeff, I loved him dearly, but he didn't know where the hamper was, and so he'd leave his towel on the floor, and he'd shave, and his whiskers would be in the sink, and I would complain, and why can't you just, the hamper's right there, your pants are right there, why can't you blah, blah, blah. So then when he was gone, and there were no clothes on the floor, and there was no hair in the sink, and there was no towel on the floor, I cried. I was like, if I had had him back, I just wouldn't complain anymore, blah, blah, blah. Hindsight is 2020. Okay. So you think about the things you did and said. And for those of you who are going to get married someday or who are married, don't sweat the little stuff. Don't let those things bring you into fights. It's not worth it.
No.
It just wastes time. And so I kept telling myself I was not going to do that with Duane. And so I try not to. Sometimes it slips. But I try not to. But he's very good with putting his clothes in the hamper, I will say.
Not so good about shutting cupboard doors.
Oh, I just go behind you and shut them. I don't say anything. So it
isn't to say our lives are perfect. They definitely are not. But we have different coping methods on how to get around and deal with stuff. We talk a lot.
Yeah.
That's an important thing. Instead of allowing something to bottle up, it's so important to talk and to share.
Definitely.
What's, this is really affecting me this way. Did you know that? And many times, most couples, I would say, don't realize when they're doing something wrong or something insensitive, and it helps to be told. Nothing is worse than having someone say, well, what did I do wrong? And then the next person saying, well, if you don't know, I'm not going to tell you.
No,
it doesn't work.
That's not communication.
No.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think I ever used that line on Jeff, but we had arguments, or I'd be mad, and it's just like it was such a waste of emotion.
Yeah.
It was such a waste of time, and there's a lot of things that I regret, and so I just have to give that to God because there's nothing I can do about it. So.
There's several things that I love about you. One of which is that you're.
I didn't bring my list.
I'm sorry. That you come on my show and that you take part in my show. Melanie never had an interest in that whatsoever. And so we have a lot of things that are our things. That's kind of where I was going with this.
Oh, okay.
We have things that are our things. There were things that were our original spouse's things, but there's things that between us are our things. Yeah. One of which is the station.
Right. I would never thought I would be doing any of this.
And I love how you always prefer me some. Like if there's two pieces of chicken and one's bigger, you always give me the bigger piece.
I can't eat the bigger piece.
Right.
Or there's a last piece of cake and I'll cut it in half for you. If it's, So.
Yeah. It's just the little things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you
the texting that we do in the morning, good morning, sunshine.
Yeah.
And you say good morning, handsome.
Yeah. But like when we were first gonna get married and you made phone calls and you said something about the insurance, I said, "Oh, I'm going to be on your insurance." He goes, "Yeah, I want to take care of you." And I just about cried because at the time, all that time between Jeff passing and us getting married, I had cruddy insurance. And because I couldn't afford it, my paycheck was not what Jeff's was. It's not what Duane's ever was. And so I just didn't have really good insurance. And so I just about cried. And thank God when I fell last year, we had the good insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
we shared that on our show that the day after my oldest daughter's wedding.
Yeah. So there's things like that. Yeah. You're always thinking about me too, honey.
Anyway,
so
it's just Chapter 2, depending on how you do it, for some people, can really be wonderful, and it has been for us.
Yeah, it is. And it's different. You can't compare one spouse to the late spouse. You can't, because no one can be replaced. People are not replaceable, and everybody grieves differently, like I said. And some people choose not to have another relationship, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. That's an individual, personal choice. And but I do know that the heart can grow. Yeah. Whatever the love I had for Jeff, it didn't go away. It's still there, and his for Melanie is still there. It's just whether you want to, not literally grow, but there's always room for more love.
Right.
So
they are a part of our past, and we're in the present.
And a lot of who Jeff was and who Mel was made me and you who we are today also.
Oh, yeah. We actually, even during our wedding ceremony, toasted our previous spouses
Yeah.
because everything I am today, the man I am today, the man of God I am today, attribute to Melanie. And so we did a toast that way. And what was interesting is I was doing the toast and explaining that, and I was watching everybody's faces, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, everybody hated that. And then later, Sheldon Vicks, I asked him about it, and he said, that was so touching. Everybody was so moved. That's why they made those faces, is because
They didn't see that coming.
they didn't see it coming.
But we wanted to do that. We knew
Yeah.
we wanted to do that. But what Jeff did for me was I was so shy and introverted. He brought me out of that shell, and he made me more confident in certain things that I could do and try harder to do the things that maybe I didn't do as well. And so just told me, you're worth so much to the Lord and to me, and you need to see that for yourself. And you need to know your time is worth something. You're valuable. And so that's a lot of what he did for me.
Exactly.
So.
And Melanie showed me how to strengthen my faith, how to stand on the Word of God, to be the man of the home and be the covering, because men need respect and sometimes some attaboys every so often.
Oh yeah.
And women need to feel safe and protected.
Yeah, even
loved.
if you're independent, you're going to rely on this person, and so I still want those feelings. I still want to feel safe.
And so those things were instilled into us, and then we can now share those things with each other, and so that's our life.
Yeah, that's our story.
Thanks, everyone.